What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. It's just me for about an hour here. Eric should be on about an hour in. He went to the game tonight. We'll get his takes on the experience being in the Moda Center with a 10% capacity crowd. I'm very interested to hear him talk about what that experience was like. For now, it's just me. It's a solo stream. Been a while since I've done one of these, and I wish it was a better game to do one of these. The Blazers end up taking care of business tonight, 140 to 129 win over the Houston Rockets. This was a game with a bunch of offense and no defense. Thankfully, the Blazers pulled it out. For my sake, they kind of screwed me over at the end there with a bad beat in picks against the spread. I took the Blazers plus 14.5 over on Blazers Uprise Live earlier today, and they choke at the end. Blevins misses a dunk. LB airballs. That garbage time wasn't pretty. A lot of this game wasn't pretty, at least after the first quarter. The Blazers dropped 50 points in the first quarter here. They hit 12 threes in the first quarter. That ties does it set a franchise record or a tied at franchise record? I don't know. But it was a phenomenal first half. Lots of fun. After that, the Rockets outscored them for the rest of the game. The Blazers kind of did what they've done earlier this season, which is let up, not keep the foot on the pedal, let a team battle back, and then take care of it at the end. Thankfully, this wasn't a game they lost. Houston was a team that had lost 42 out of their last 47 games going into this one. But it would have been nice to get Damian Lillard some rest, CJ McCollum some rest. And we weren't really able to do that. Let me pull up the box score here so I know exactly how many minutes these guys played. You had... Let's see here. You had Damian Lillard playing 36 minutes, Norman Powell and CJ McCollum playing 35 minutes. So this was a game that featured the Blazers Big Four all playing well once again in combination. You had Norm with 28, CJ with 28, Dame with 34, Nurkic with 22. That combines for 84, like 112 points. If my math doesn't suck, that's 112 points by those four combined. All of them end up shooting pretty good numbers from the field. CJ McCollum, 8 for 17, 6 for 10 from 3. Dame, 11 for 20, 6 for 11 from 3. Nurkic, 10 for 14, 0 for 1 from 3. Needed Nurkic to feast in this one. This was a Houston Rockets team that was undersized. It was good to see him do that. In 29 minutes, he has 22.6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. Another good game from Yusuf Nurkic. Norman Powell had some really good moments in this one as well. He had 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 for 17 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. Other than that, Derrick Jones Jr. gets some minutes in this one. He has 23 minutes played. He was kind of out of the rotation, and then all of a sudden, he's playing 23 minutes tonight. Don't know the reasoning behind that, but, or just at least behind the change. I've been a guy who thinks Derrick Jones Jr. shouldn't have been completely removed from the rotation, and his play tonight kind of said so as well. In those 23 minutes, he has 11 points, 3 assists, 3 boards, a steal, 4 for 6 from the field. Missed his only 3-point attempt, was 3 for 3 from the line, though. So Derrick Jones Jr. was our best player off the bench, stepping up, replacing a little bit of that scoring punch that we're missing with Carmelo Anthony out due to injury. So those were the top performances from tonight. Now, as this is a solo stream, I'll try and engage with chat a little bit more since I don't have Eric to kind of bounce thoughts off of. But yeah, we'll get Eric on about an hour in this one and hear about his experience and thoughts on the game. Let me know what your thoughts are in chat on this one. Are you happy with this game? Are you disappointed with this game? I know there's some mixed emotions given how Houston is the worst team in the NBA and the Blazers didn't really put them away. It would have been one thing if this was a game where the Blazers miss a lot of open threes and they win 100 to 90. But 140 to 129, they gave up 129 points to a Rockets team that they've been kind of feisty, kind of competitive in previous games against some decent teams. But the talk was, the last 8 games, the Blazers have won 7 of them, and they have the 7th ranked defensive rating. And Travis Demers tweeted that out today. I quote tweeted it saying, I'm not buying stock in this defense yet. You're talking about a good 8-game stretch, but I listed off all the guys they had injured. If you don't follow me on Twitter, by the way, at TorJonesYT, we face a Celtics team without Kemba. We face a Nets team without KD, without James Harden. We face the Lakers without LeBron. We face the Pacers without Miles Turner, Sabonis, and TJ Warren. I'm blanking on a couple other guys, but the Blazers are playing better defense, but it's still not coming against elite teams. And it's kind of disappointing to come out tonight and play a bad defensive game. Because you look at the previous 8, you would think, okay, they have some momentum defensively. They have a stretch coming up where they've faced 3 teams above them in the Western Conference standings, the Jazz, the Suns, and the Nuggets to end the season. You would hope that them playing solid defense against some mediocre teams, some good teams, but good teams that have good players out, so they're probably only mediocre. You would hope that the Blazers could turn that into good defensive performances in these final 4 games. Houston is a team they shouldn't have given up 129 points to, but I would be more encouraged going into the playoffs if they were playing good defense against elite teams. They haven't really done that all season long. They've had stretches here and there against mediocre teams where they played good D. And that's what this past 8-game stretch before this game was. So I want them to come out tonight, have a good defensive game, cover the spread for me because I picked them in picks against the spread. I'm mad about that. But more importantly, blow this team out, get Dame some rest. Because he's been able to rest a bit lately, and the performance on the floor has risen. He's been really, really good lately. And I think him having some games where he's only playing 29, 30 minutes instead of 36, 37, 38 minutes is a part of why he's playing better. He's fresher. I believe he even said so himself. So that's what's frustrating about this game. Not only do they kind of halt the momentum they had on the defensive end, maybe it's just an outlier, but it's definitely not encouraging going into these final 3 games. But Dame also doesn't get rest. So, little disappointing, but the Blazers still end up winning this game. They still, they don't fall into the trap of losing to a team that had lost 42 out of 47 games. So Kyle Wilson says good news is that one more win clinches the 6th seed. That is not the case. Let's update the standing situation. The Lakers won last night against the Suns. The Suns did not help us out whatsoever. The Blazers are currently a game and a half up on the Lakers. The Lakers have 4 games left. The Blazers have 3. The Blazers need to win 2 more games to clinch. Their magic number is 2 over the Lakers. Magic number being any combination of Blazers wins or Lakers losses. If the Lakers lose 2 more games, the Blazers could lose out. They'd still be ahead of the Lakers. If the Blazers win 2 more games, the Lakers could win out. The Blazers will still be ahead of them. If the Blazers win 1 and the Lakers lose 1, same scenario, Blazers still ahead of them. So the magic number is currently 2 for the Blazers to be in ahead of the Lakers. 2 games would clinch a playoff spot. Not a play-in spot, a playoff spot. Currently, they are a half game behind the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks, I believe, play Memphis tomorrow, a Memphis team that struggled to beat a New Orleans team without Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. Hopefully, Memphis has a better performance against the Mavericks. Hopefully, they can help us out. That game is indeed at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Memphis and Dallas. The rest of Dallas' schedule, they got New Orleans on Wednesday, so upcoming back-to-back. Toronto on Friday, and then Minnesota on Sunday. So a pretty easy schedule for Dallas. We need Memphis to help us out. It's going to be hard for Portland to win their final 3 games in order to catch up to Dallas. I still think Dallas gets the 5th seed. And right now, that's the seed that the Blazers would want. You got the Nuggets kind of starting to struggle. They are in the 4th seed right now. They're a game behind the Clippers, and I believe they have the tiebreaker. So that's a better first-round matchup than the Clippers. So that's kind of the standing situation as it lies. Shout out to... Let me pull this up here. I've got too many tabs open. Shout out to Near012, $5 dono. He says, yeah, but are we really game planning for Kenyon Martin Jr.? LOL, being top 5 in the last 10 games when it comes to defensive efficiency is a good sign. And I don't disagree with you. We had stretches against mediocre teams where we were giving up 130 points a game earlier this season. We had real bad defensive stretches earlier this season. So yes, the past 8 games, especially considering where we were, is encouraging, but this game isn't. Okay? Yeah, they're not game planning for Kenyon Martin Jr. The reason why is because Kenyon Martin Jr. is their best player. It's a dude who barely got drafted in this past year's draft, a rookie. Okay? This Armani Brooks kind of went off against us. And Armani Brooks has been playing good, but how many of you knew Armani Brooks before the past day or so? I feel like it's probably under 50%. So, yeah, they're not game planning, but still would have liked to at least just seen consistent effort. Because that's the one thing the Blazers have done a good job with during the 8-game stretch where they've won 7. They've shown consistent effort. They've been more consistent in terms of, just hustling and just putting forth the proper defensive effort. This game, I can't say that. This game, I get it. It's human nature. You get up on a bad team. You're hitting a bunch of threes. You feel like you could play no defense and you'll still beat them because you're making everything in the first quarter. That's human nature, but it's not encouraging. This game was not encouraging. I don't leave this game feeling good. I'm not feeling bad. I'm not saying, oh no, the Blazers, they're right back to being a terrible defensive team and they're screwed. Not saying that at all. Not saying I even necessarily feel bad about this game. I just don't know how you can feel good about it. Shout out Mills Woes for a $5 dono says, what do you think we do in the back-to-back? The Blazers' next 2 games are a back-to-back on May 12th and May 13th. The first game on the Wednesday is against Utah. The second game is against Phoenix. So both those games are on national TV. So if you guys don't like Jordan Kent saying the word when we were kiddos, and I don't know, that was the quote of the game for me, him talking about when he was a, quote, kiddo. If you want to avoid that, you got 2 national broadcasted games on the 12th and 13th. The game on the 16th, time is to be determined. That'll be an early game. But Utah and Phoenix, it's an interesting situation because Utah lost to Golden State. And if you're a Blazers fan, you probably wanted Utah to beat Golden State. Right now, Utah is a game and a half ahead of the Phoenix Suns. So it's not a done deal for the 1 and 2 seeds. If Utah beat Golden State, they would have been 2.5 games ahead of the Phoenix Suns. Okay? That would have made it more likely that the Suns in our second to last game might have had the 2 seed clinched and might not be really trying to win it. Now it's a situation where if we come out against the Jazz and beat them, the Jazz are going to try because they still haven't wrapped up that 1 seed. So them losing against Golden State hurts us because the Jazz are still playing for something and the Suns are still playing for something. It's kind of a double-edged sword there. So if we beat Utah, Phoenix is going to come out really trying to beat us in the next game on the second night of a back-to-back because at that point they will be tied with Utah in the loss column unless Phoenix loses a game between now and then. So I just want to split them. I think it's going to be 2 games in which Utah and Phoenix come out trying to win. I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case for the Blazers because I do want them to get that 5th seed and face off against Denver. But it looks like with Utah losing today, both those games, those teams will be trying to win. Now, here's the situation, though, after these 2 games. It could come down to last night of the regular season, the Blazers are locked in 6th place. They play Denver. It could be a situation where if Denver wins, they could get the 3 seed if Denver beats us, and then that would be our matchup. Or if we beat Denver, if we're still locked into 6th, then Denver becomes the 4th seed, and then we get the Clippers. So that's something that I teased about 5 days ago. That's still a very real possibility. Obviously, you just got to play it 1 game at a time. Little side note on this game. For like 6 years, I was saying that Cam Oliver deserves a shot in the NBA. Played his first NBA game today, I believe. 13 points in 19 minutes. That was a guy we had in training camp. I just saw his name in chat. That's why I'm bringing it up right now. 6 for 10 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. When he was with us in training camp, I liked his game. I think that was the training camp where we got Tim Quarterman instead, which made no sense to me. It's kind of cool to see Cam Oliver have a good game, despite it being against the Blazers, just because I always felt like he was an underrated guy who never got a chance in the NBA. And now I know probably half of you are saying, who? Cam Oliver, I don't know. It was cool to see. Let me check playoffstatus.com. It's the website I've been referencing a lot recently for playoff odds, for the team's odds to finish in certain seeds. I want to see if they've updated for this Blazer game. They haven't yet. Odds are still looking 64% chance at a 6 seed right now. The Clippers are 68% chance at a 3 seed right now. They give us a 47% chance of facing the Clippers in round 1. So that's playoffstatus.com. That's the website I've been referencing seeding odds based off of. Gabe says, we got a surprise for you tomorrow night. Tori, if you're still able to make it, a surprise for all of Blazers Uprise. I will be on Valley Podcast tomorrow night. That is the plan. So I'll tweet out that link when I go guest with them. Gabe, I'm very curious to see what your surprise is, man. I wasn't expecting a surprise. I don't know what to expect now. Now you got me a little nervous. But yeah, I'll be guesting on their postgame show. They cover the Suns. Gabe, Salty's in here. Saltiest AZ fans in here. I think I see Evan in here too. That's the Valley guys. All right. So, what are your guys's... I know I just asked you guys this, but I'm going to start taking questions from chat. That's the easiest thing to do here. It would be easier to do a solo stream if this was a game where I was like breaking down a lot, but we're playing a team that has now lost 43 out of 48 games. There's really not a whole lot to get into in terms of stuff that are assigned for the playoffs, right? I like playing good teams because I feel like we can get a feel, especially near the end of the regular season, if the Blazers are truly ready to face a good Western Conference playoff team. But, yeah, Houston is the furthest thing away from that. Zach, if Gabe got me a girlfriend, I don't know how that'd work. He gonna ship her from Arizona? I don't know how that'd work, man. Kyle says, which was harder to watch, the Blazers defense this year or the 2020 San Francisco 49ers? The Blazers this year, because the Blazers defense shouldn't have been as bad as it was. When it came to my 49ers last year, they were injured, which I know I don't make injury excuses, but it applied much more to that Niners team than it has to the Blazers in the past couple of years. Taylor says, do you think our defensive struggles is mostly due to the scheme we run? I think that's a problem, but I know it's quite a bit of coasting from our players. I think if we just came out tonight with consistent effort, I think we hold them to 110 points. Even if we run drop scheme all game against this type of team, it's not a team that's really has the talent to exploit it. So that's what was disappointing today. It wasn't necessarily the schemes. When it comes to a team like this, I'm not really focusing on the schemes. I just want the team to come out, pedal to the metal, and not take the foot off the gas when they get up by 20, 15 points, whatever. That's something the team struggled with. So it's like they've been better with that lately. That's why I'm disappointed, is because I feel like this might have been a little bit of a step back in terms of just giving consistent effort. But also it's a bad team. So I'm trying not to read into that too much. Shout out Polly Ross, $5 dono, says, happy late Mother's Day to your mommies. Yes, happy Mother's Day to all your mothers. Appreciate it, Polly. I'll tell my mother that Polly Ross from chat said happy late Mother's Day. Eric Olson says, tactics question. Does Stotts run, read, and react? Read and react could apply to a number of different scenarios, so I feel like that's a little vague. I don't know how to answer that. But yeah, as far as the scheme thing goes, it's playing a... I want to see how we defend against teams that do really well against drop scheme. Okay? Because I can understand coming out and just running drop scheme against the Houston Rockets knowing you're probably going to be fine. And that's what Stotts loves to run. But I want to see if we go up against the Phoenix Suns, which is coming soon, and Utah has had their way with us on the offensive end. I want to see, okay, is Stotts going to come out into a game against Chris Paul and Devin Booker and just run drop scheme and let those guys walk into open threes, walk into open mid-range shots. Chris Paul loves playing against drop scheme, and it's not because necessarily he loves pulling up for three, but you sag the big, the guard gets caught up on the screen. You're giving him a lot of space in the mid-ranges. He's one of those guys that'll take that space, go east to west, draw another defender, and set up somebody with a good shot. He can also pull up off of it. Like, Phoenix is a team you cannot run drop scheme against. Okay? So, some of these teams missing some of these players and, playing the Cavs and now playing the Rockets and playing the Spurs, which aren't really built to exploit drop scheme. DeMar DeRozan isn't much of a three-point shooter. You can kind of just go under screens on him. Those teams aren't indicative of anything that'll happen in the playoffs, right? So I don't blame Stotts for running drop scheme against those teams, even though I think we should work on other things right now, especially against bad teams. We probably should have just trapped all game just to work on it. And that's kind of a missed opportunity because we trap all game. We're probably still winning this game. We're probably not even giving up 129 points. But regardless, I want to see if it's still a thing where Terry Stotts is still too comfortable with drop scheme that we go up against the Suns and that's the scheme he runs with Nurkic in the game right off the bat. Or has he finally realized that Nurkic is pretty dang good at trapping ball screens? He's pretty good at hedging. He can run any sort of pick and roll defense. And has Stotts realized, oh, well, you can't drop the big on Phoenix, which is a pretty obvious thing. They crushed us multiple games this year because we ran drop scheme. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. Shout out JM $2 dono says, which young Blazer do you have the most faith in? Long term or right now? Right now I have the most faith in Anthony Simons. That's because he's been playing well recently. Nasir Little had a run where he's playing well. Now he's been kind of quiet. And I don't think that's totally Nasir Little's fault. Long term, I still believe in Little the most. He has a role to grow into on this team that Anthony doesn't quite have. Behind Dame and CJ. And even if we trade CJ, Norman Powell would likely be the two. Or the only way I see us trading CJ is if we're bringing back Norman Powell to be our starting shooting guard. So regardless, Anthony doesn't really have that role to grow into. Nasir Little has a chance at being a starting forward in a couple of years if he develops right. And then I think his ceiling is just as high as Anthony's, maybe higher. Shaw Mills Woj, $5 donut says, did you see the Lakers-Suns game yesterday? And if so, do you think we can take anything from that? I did not watch a second of that game. All I know is the Phoenix Suns let us down. The Phoenix Suns did not come through for us whatsoever. Now, granted, the Suns don't want the Lakers to be 7th. So, I guess I can't blame them. I feel bad for Suns fans if they've suffered for a decade where they've just had terrible team after terrible team, and then they finally have a good season, get a 2 seed in their first round matchup, could be the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, I feel bad for them. Could you imagine dealing with 10 years of just terrible basketball and then finally have a good season, and then you get LeBron and AD in the first round? Yeah, I have empathy for Suns fans staring at that situation right now. So maybe that's why they lost. Maybe it was a situation where they want the Lakers to pass us, which I think they do. And if I were them, I would want the Lakers to pass us too. If I were a Suns fan, I'd rather face the Blazers in the first round than the Lakers. That should be obvious. Shout out Mills Woj, another $5 dono. Oh no, that was the last one. Never mind. I'm reading off the same donos twice. Just shout out to Mills Woj then. Taylor Packer says, I'm curious what your expectations for this playoff run is. I can't help but see our offensive firepower and the games where we play good defense and think we can hang with anyone. Depends on who we face. If we face the Nuggets, I think that's a 50-50 series. If we face the Jazz or the Suns in the second round, they should be favored over us, but I think we have a chance. So if that's kind of the path, like Nuggets and then Suns or Jazz, then I think we have a chance to get into the Western Conference Finals. We would need the 5th seed to do that, most likely. Because I think the Lakers are going to be 7th. I think the Clippers right now are likely to be 3rd. So that could be our path if we get the 5th seed, face the 4th seed Nuggets, and then whoever the 1 seed is. More likely the Jazz, but the Suns still have a chance at it. But if we face the Clippers, I don't have hope for that series. Now, I'm not saying the Blazers can't win. I've just seen too many playoff series where we don't have an answer for being trapped in the playoffs. And it turns into turnovers and it turns into iso ball. And then when we've guarded the Clippers this year, we've run a lot of drop scheme. They have had their way with us. We held them to 113 points when they didn't have Kawhi, but the other 2 games, they lit us up. What do you think's going to happen if we play that style of basketball? Where you got Ibaka, he's a mobile big. Zubac is underrated in terms of his mobility. He can trap. He's kind of like Nurkic a little bit in terms of just being the guy that seems like he's slow but is quicker than you think. If we play like how we've played in the previous playoffs, I don't see how we win a game against the Clippers because it's going to be a situation where Dame gets trapped by personnel that knows how to trap. And Doc Rivers isn't there anymore. What am I talking about? I'm living in last year. But it's going to be a situation where Dame's going to get trapped. If we set up against the trap like we have in previous years, it's going to turn into isolation because his only outlet is going to be CJ McCollum at half court, a cross court pass. Defense is going to be able to rotate back because CJ's not a threat from 45 feet. And then it's going to be CJ McCollum isolating, or maybe he gives it back to Dame, and it's going to be like Dame isolating against Pat Beverly, Paul George, or Kawhi Leonard. Same thing for CJ, same thing for Norm. You're not going to have success in the playoffs, especially since the refs will let more contact go. Kawhi, PG, Pat Beverly will be able to be a little bit more physical on defense without being called for a foul. In that scenario, we're going to struggle to score. And on the other end, if we run drop scheme against Paul George, let him walk into threes. If we run drop scheme against Kawhi Leonard, it's gonna be rough. So that's kind of the thing with our style of play, and that's why I've wanted a new coach, because that style of play I don't think is conducive for playoff success against the elite teams. Now, that doesn't mean the Blazers can't win 8 out of 9 games like they just have. You know what I mean? After earlier today, it's like I have people almost saying, gotcha, see, you were wrong about the coaching, but our stuff, this 8-game stretch doesn't mean anything towards the playoffs. Like, it helps us with playoff positioning, but it doesn't make me believe in the team anymore in the playoffs, because I haven't seen us against an elite team, against a team like the Clippers, or a team like the Lakers, or a healthy Nets team. I haven't seen us play a good style of basketball in any of those games. Now, the Lakers haven't been healthy, the Nets haven't been healthy. You could make the argument that we haven't really had a chance. But I've seen previous years where we've just had a bad style of play against good teams, against elite teams in the playoffs, and we've just gotten crushed. We've just absolutely gotten crushed. I think we can beat a Nuggets team this year, or like a Nuggets team in 2019, an OKC team in 2019. I think we have a shot at beating the Suns, beating the Jazz. But I don't have confidence when it comes to like a team like the Clippers and the way they would just completely destroy our style of play that we've shown in playoffs prior. So that's what it comes down to. I think if we have the right style of play, we have an outside shot at beating anybody. I think we have enough talent where if we play with the right style of play and play some decent defense, we can outscore the Clippers. We just have to be able to defend them and then get good quality shots. That's literally how simple it is. That's why it's so frustrating when we play into the trap and we run drop scheme and that sort of thing. So that's what it comes down to. That's kind of my feelings on the playoffs. Hello to Eric's mom. Hope you enjoyed the game. She says she's home and Eric is on his way home. I saw Carson ask about no Eric today. Yeah, Eric is. I traded him to Lakers Uprise for a bag of chips. Sorry, I thought their fan base needed some educating. So that's where Eric's gonna be. Lakers Uprise. No, in all seriousness, Eric went to the game. We'll get his takes on what the atmosphere was like at the game when he's on. So I'm sure he'll be calling me sometime soon. He doesn't exactly live close to the arena, so yeah, we're waiting on Eric. I'm enjoying the chat. A solo stream is a little bit more challenging. I enjoy it though. I like it. Yes, Destrom, we let the Rockets score 129 tonight. You're right. I don't get the point. Valley, no, there's not a Lakers Uprise. Shout out to Near012. I think this donation has been there a while. Sorry, I didn't see it. $2 donation from Near012 says, our bench looks horrible without Melo. Ugh. I don't think it's because of Melo, though. Like, Derrick Jones Jr. had 11 points in 23 minutes, and he kind of took some of Melo's minutes. He wouldn't be playing and hasn't played with Melo healthy. Anthony Simons is starting to struggle. If Anthony Simons was shooting the ball like he has in previous games and Derrick Jones Jr. did this, our bench looks great tonight. But, like, Kanter didn't have a huge impact. He was 2 for 5 from the field in 17 minutes, had 6 points. Anthony was 1 for 6, 1 for 4 from the three-point line. Like, I think it's those guys playing worse than they were is why our bench looks like it's, like, terrible without Melo. Now, Derrick Jones Jr. isn't going to put up 11 points every night, but I think he replaced Melo's production pretty well. Had 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 11 points, 4 for 6 from the field. 11 points in 23 minutes is good for Derrick Jones Jr. So, hopefully Melo is ready to go for the playoffs. He hasn't really missed time since becoming a Portland Trail Blazer. I said that's so weird. He hasn't really missed time, so didn't even seem like anything was bothering him, and then now he's scratched from 2 games. So, hopefully he is all right. Tony and Davis says, who will the Blazers play in the first round? Right now, it's more likely to be the Clippers. It's like 50% chance Clippers. I'd say like 25% chance Nuggets. And then if we fall to 7th, it'll be the Suns or the Jazz. Taylor Packard has a lot of good comments. That's the thing. If you consistently leave good comments, we're more likely to read them. You know, we don't specifically try and ignore everybody, but good comments, insightful comments add to the conversation, especially without Eric. So, Taylor, another good comment in chat, says, I think the biggest problem is when we use Simons like a playmaker. It drives me crazy. Why even have him take the ball up? He tries to do a step back 3 or he feeds to low post for an ISO. That's what happens, but I don't think it's Simons' fault. Like, Simons is completely fine bringing the ball up. Where the problem is with Simons is the offense is stagnant with the bench unit. And a lot of times he has the ball and nothing's happening and he has to make something happen. And he is not consistent at that yet. When he's on, he can hit shots off the dribble. He started to hit a few more pull-ups recently, but it's not really his game yet. He's not CJ, he's not Dame. So he brings the ball up, a lot of times nothing is happening. So it's either feed it to the post or go one-on-one, make something happen. You put him in an offense like Golden State's, where it's not like a situation where he has to try and create one-on-one against a set defense where he can play off the ball, where he can get the ball on cuts, be able to cut through space, be able to shoot more catch and shoot instead of off the dribble threes. He's going to look better. And all he'd have to do is bring the ball up and make a pass to kind of initiate that motion offense they run. He could easily do that. So I think that's kind of the issue with our structure. That's, a part of the reason why I want a style of play improvement. Shout Mills Welsh, another $5 dono, says, any chance Mavs lose to the Grizz or Pelicans tomorrow and Wednesday? The Grizzlies haven't been playing too well. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans tonight, but the Pelicans start Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, Najee Marshall, James Johnson, and Willie Hernan-Gomez. Shout out to former Blazer legend Wenyen Gabriel for 8 points, 5 rebounds off the bench. He was 2 for 2 from 3. But, I mean, that's a bad Pelicans team. They're missing Ingram for the rest of the year, Zion for the rest of the year, so I don't think the Pelicans are going to beat the Mavericks. But the Grizzlies only beat that team by 5, and they had Dylan Brooks, John Morant, Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, Kyle Anderson. Tyus Jones is back. He was hurt for a while. So the Grizzlies are the healthiest they've been all season long. And you could maybe make the argument they're struggling more than they have all season long. Because their schedule's been pretty easy. They beat the Raptors by 10. I'm just going back from this New Orleans game for the Grizzlies. They beat New Orleans by 5. New Orleans missing Ingram and Zion and Steven Adams, number of guys. They beat the Raptors by 10 a game ago, 2 games ago. They lost to the Pistons by 14. Game before that, they only beat the Timberwolves by 4. The game before that, they lose by 14 to the Knicks. The game before that, they lose by 1 to the Magic. Game before that, they beat the Magic. Game before that, they lose to us by 21. The game before that, they lost to Denver by 24. So after Memphis beat us those 2 games in a row, they have been struggling. They've lost 5 out of 9 games. The games they've won, a 5-point win over a garbage New Orleans team, missing guys, a 4-point win over Minnesota. The wins haven't been impressive. They beat the Magic and then lost them the next night. I think that was Cole Anthony's buzzer beater. Yeah, they haven't been playing well. So I don't have confidence in Memphis or the Pelicans beating Dallas. That's why I think Dallas is going to be the 5 seed. Because I don't see Portland winning out. If Portland wins 2 out of 3 games against good teams that they haven't beaten all year long, they haven't beaten the Suns, they haven't beaten the Nuggets, they haven't beaten the Jazz. They've gotten blown out more than they've been competitive against those teams. But if the Blazers go 2-1, the Mavericks would still have to lose 2 out of their final 4 games. And their final 4 games are against, as you said, the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, the Raptors, and the Timberwolves. The only way I see us getting the 5 seed is if we win out. At that point, Dallas would only have to lose 1 out of the 4 for us to pass them, because we're a game they have 4 games left, so it's kind of weird. Yeah, that's the situation with Dallas. Apples, $2 Australian dono. Appreciate it, Apples. He says, I stopped watching at halftime. What happened? The Blazers made this closer than it should have been. That's what happened. Kind of slacked off defensively. Norman Powell even said it, so it's not really, I'm not the one saying it. Norman Powell said it. He said they slacked off defensively in his post-game interview. That's basically what happened. That's what it seemed like to me. Kind of one of those second half lulls in terms of effort where the Blazers are winning and take their foot off the gas. And that's what Norm said. We've seen it a number of times this year. Is Eric in chat? Not Olsen. Eric Brandt. I want an ETA, an estimated time of arrival for Mr. Brandt, if he's in chat. Granted, he's probably driving, so I don't want him to type and drive. Don't type and drive, kids. Don't do it. Eric Olsen says, one question, how the hell do you pronounce Bjorkgren? I think it's like Bjorken. Oh, okay, cool. Let's get Eric on here. Alrighty, so we got Eric on the call. Once he's set up and ready to go, I will unmute him. And actually, I'll just... I gotta get your webcam. Hold on. I'm hearing myself in your audio, Eric. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Alright, so let me see if I can get your webcam on here, because it was messing with the display. Anyway, what's going on, Eric? They can hear you. Just can't see you yet. So, how was the game?
It was alright.
How was the atmosphere?
The atmosphere was pretty terrible, in my opinion.
Was it?
It was kind of what I expected. We're playing a team where most fans going to the game probably had not heard of more than one or two players on their team before.
Mm-hmm.
And you could definitely tell that the crowd was not into it. My particular section did not hear a single defensive chant, barely heard any kind of cheering at all until like about 6 minutes left in the game when the Rockets cut it to like 5 points or so, and then all of a sudden there was a few people getting into it and the crowd seemed somewhat normal again. But until that point, I was pretty disappointed that other than my mom and I did not see many people up where we were sitting even chanting or anything.
Yeah, I wish I could say I'm surprised. That probably wasn't the game to go to. The Lakers game seemed like it's going to be the best game until the playoffs.
It's still really fun, yeah.
Yeah. Was it... How weird was it just with how empty it is?
It was really weird, just like being able to go to the bathroom and no line.
Yeah.
Like no one in the bathroom. Most of the food things weren't open, but yeah, it was kind of eerie almost. Like they... It was like we were like the worst team in the league, and we just had like the worst attendance. From what I've heard, though, like it was completely different Friday and Saturday night. So I think this was just an outlier because of the game we played and the fact that we put up 50 points in the first quarter and should have ran away easily with it. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed in. For me personally, I feel like if you're only going to allow 1,900 fans in, they should all be ones that are going to be crazy and root for your team and do all the chants and stuff like that. So I'm disappointed that so many fans went out of their way to get tickets to this game without even really caring about being there, other than, how many beers they had. And
yep, I would have taken a ticket.
Exactly.
We've been able to do every post-game show this year because there has been no fans. There was games the first year we did this where me and Eric would both go to games, and the post-game show obviously then was tricky. Yeah. Might need to find a third person to fill in, because next year I'm trying to go to a lot of games. I need to get my fix. Chat's gonna get all excited now that I said that. Me. I know Isaac will make me the third, but yeah, I'm mad.
Well, Taylor says when you have 1,900 fan limit, everyone's socially distanced in masks. Is it any surprise there isn't an explosive atmosphere? I mean, they all said it on Friday and Saturday that it sounded like a normal crowd. That's how loud people were and crazy, and they were all into it. So, yeah, the fact this was the third one and it's the worst team in the league. I mean, that definitely played into it, and I was worried about that, but yeah, still cool to actually get to go to a game.
Yeah. But I'm mad about the picks against the spread, dude. Dude, were you rooting for Houston at the end there?
At the end, we put in our scrubs, and I was just like, okay, yeah. I was kind of happy when
LB air balls.
Blevins
misses a dunk.
His first and only NBA dunk, and he hangs on the rim and gets a goaltend.
Eric, I would have been able to dunk that, dude. How you not dunk that? That's like the perfect footwork for me. All the adrenaline I would have had, I think I would have dunked that on an NBA court.
Yeah, but
I would.
At the same time,
bro, can't even make an open dunk, man.
When that lane opens up and you've never done it before in an NBA game, you gotta start. Sometimes the nerves play into effect there.
I've just gotten so many bad beats this year. I could have been 6 games behind you.
like Reese said, you got lucky with some of the spreads earlier. So
Like what? What did I get
the
lucky with?
Pacers
But
winning by 9
but it
on
was
the 9.5.
close, and they like made 4 free throws to even make it close. That would have been a bad beat, but it was closer than that. The final minute, we were up 18 with like 2 minutes left, and then give up like a 7-point run. Yeah, that's rough.
It was like it kept switching between 17. I think CJ missed those 2 free throws. That's what killed it. Because that would have put us up 19. So if they hit that 3, they're only up 16, or we're only up 16, or we're still up 16. But yeah, so that those 2 missed free throws made it so if they hit a 3, it would cover the 14.5 point spread. And then
CJ is such a bad free throw shooter compared to his actual shooting ability.
You know what's funny though? I heard some guy a few behind me just kind of mumbling. Like TJ Leaf got the ball under the basket with like a minute left. And he was like, please, TJ, make a shot. Like, I almost turned around and asked if he had money on the 14
Bro,
points.
I literally was saying the same thing. I was like, TJ.
Like, oh, crap.
The dude, like, takes his time. It's like he had a layup, and he, like, man, I can't stand those bigs. I can't stand those bigs where it's like they'll have a lane and they're scared, so they're like, put the ball on the floor, like, double over it, and then go up weak and just get swatted. Because that's what he did. It was like, dude. One game, okay, when it doesn't matter for me, he's out here Euro-stepping and dunking, okay? When it does matter, he's scared to shoot a normal lane. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. Because I'd only been 6 games back with enough games left to get it. Now I'm 8. Should have went with Zach and went Spurs. That was a wild game today. Spurs.
Man, you can't be too mad. I went 2-5, so.
Yeah, I just,
Stupid Milwaukee.
I could have been 4. I could have been 4-3 instead of. I don't even know. I can't do math right now. Shout out Isaac Figueroa, $10 dono. So at this point, we're going to face a good team. I'm scared Scott's ruins a great playoff run for the Blazers, especially if we face the Clippers. #FireStots. Even if we had the best coach in the league, like, we could still end up losing against the Clippers. I just think the best coach in the league would obviously give us the best chance to win against the Clippers. So it's not like if we lose, he automatically ruins it. Depends on how we lose. If he comes out and coaches a good series, we can still lose. But I'll be the one sitting here saying, like, okay, well, we played a good game. You know, but if we don't have an answer for the trap and ISO all game long against elite defenders, elite individual defenders, and then we're in drop scheme, like, you'll get a rage clip or two, which is obvious. Like, it's obvious that that's like how we've lost in the past and how we need to learn from that. But I don't know. Like, if that's what happens, though, here's the thing: if that's what happens, he's gone.
Yeah, for sure. The thing for me is, like, in previous seasons, like, you see the Pelican series, we get swept because Dame gets trapped and completely taken out. We don't make any adjustments coaching-wise or scheme-wise to alter it. And then you say, okay, fine, it's the middle of a series. Maybe, we just didn't have the right ideas or nothing came to fruition there. So next season for sure, right? And then we play well, but, in the playoffs, we don't really have a situation where Dame gets trapped until the Western Conference Finals. And then we see that nothing's changed. And then the following year, we have Dame having to basically shoot from 30 feet out to like, get teams to stop, like, having the guy just wait for him at the 3-point line. But that's not... If they trap us high or near half court, that doesn't help, even if Dame's hitting a good percentage of those deep threes. And then we've broken down that cross-court pass they do, which allows the defense to recover and never makes them pay for trying to double team super high on that. And we've never really fixed that against good teams. And if the only counter is to, let CJ bring the ball up and let him go 1-on-5 and try to score. And we actually saw that tonight where we had 19 assists in the first half. We scored like a record amount in the first quarter. I think we had like 78 or something, 79 at halftime. And 79. Then we come out in the third quarter and I think we had 4 assists in the third quarter, and then fourth quarter we start assisting again once Dame comes back into the game. But uh, we just went back into ISO ball in the second half after we had some beautiful plays in the first quarter of moving the ball and everyone touching it, passing it around the perimeter, getting an open three. Nurk out of the post, throwing out to Norman Powell a couple times in the corner for threes. Like it was like pretty basketball to watch. And then you watch them in the second half just go one on one and not really moving the ball, and everyone's just taking turns like doing their thing and bricking a shot. And I mean, we still were scoring some, but luckily we never really. I mean, I guess it got kind of shady there in the fourth quarter, but it never really felt like we were in like jeopardy of losing the game. But like that's been my problem is we understand that ball movement, off ball like cuts and things like that. There was a play tonight where Cantor got the ball in the middle. Derek Jones had no one within the whole side of the court from him, and he could have just cut. Cantor could have dumped it off for a dunk. He ends up passing to Jones in the corner. Jones ends up pump faking and driving on 2 guys and dunking anyway, but it's like so much more difficult than it could have been if he just cut to the basket.
Yep, that baseline cut.
Yeah, I feel like we just like it's almost like we're not allowed to cut. I know Stott says it's up to the players to do what they want and stuff like that, but like I feel like if we had an offense that was designed on cuts and off-ball movement like that and passing in those situations, that it would just be so much more fluid against good teams. Because honestly, yeah, against the Rockets you can get away with that and he still gets a highlight dunk. But against like a team like the Clippers who we're going to face, and that's Kawhi Leonard and Paul George stopping him, he might not even get to the paint, let alone to a position to dunk a ball. So just stuff like that is driving me crazy. And then our defensive schemes, we've seen now for 2 years, be one of the worst defensive teams in the league outside of this last 9 games. But, like, what have we seen much differently? Like, even in this 9-game stretch, there isn't, like, a ton we're doing differently other than not blatantly dropping the big and I'll touch upon this in a minute, but I did notice something that Nurk was doing that would really impress me on the defensive end in the first quarter of this game. But that's why I have no faith in Stotts. Is like for 2 years now, he's had a chance to maybe try some things when the defense hasn't worked at all. And I feel like we're just going to go into these playoff series without adjusting both to the traps and to the drop scheme, or not being able to run drop scheme against certain teams and not having a counter or a way to stop that or slow it down. And it's going to be frustrating if we have to go through another playoff series watching that again. The problem is we're so talented, we can still win games, especially if we play a Denver, like I said, who can't really exploit some of those weaknesses we have because they don't have a Jamal Murray to break us down in pick and rolls. So we might get away with it. So I'm hoping, even if we do win, it's obvious that the coaching is still a problem, because I don't think it's doing much differently in this stretch even to warrant them getting much credit for it. And I think it's just the players are stepping up and playing better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the effort has been more consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. You have all these... Did you listen to the part of this post-game show where I was talking about defense?
I listened to the whole thing, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like the point I made earlier is just, it's not like we're facing elite teams that are healthy, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's better, but it's simply better because guys are giving more consistent effort. Like, when it comes to facing the Clippers, consistent effort isn't good enough. You got to have the right scheme because they're that good of a team. When it comes to a healthy Lakers team, same thing. When it comes to the Jazz, when it comes to the Suns, you have to have consistent effort and you have to have the right game plan and run the right defensive schemes. None of the teams that we've beaten during this 9-game stretch where we've won 8 has been the type of team where it's like you have to scheme properly for it in order to have a good defensive game against them. So everybody that was, talking about, our defense is great now. Our defense is good now. Look at their rating the last 8 games. They're 7th rated defense the last 8 games. Like, context matters. We had a 6-game winning streak earlier this year, and I was saying, yeah, but who are we playing? Right? Right after that 6-game winning streak, we lose 4. So this team has done this kind of all year. It was their best stretch of defense, but it's still not against the type of teams that would have me buy stock in it. And I tweeted that out before this game today, and then what do you know? They give up 129 points to basically a G League team. So it's wait and see mode. I'm just not going to buy stock in them being a good defense until they like have a good playoff series defensively against a Clippers type team or something.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. So they finished 18 of 38, but at the last I looked at the game, they were 16 of 32. And so before the game, looked it up, they're like, I forgot if they were second or third in percentage of their shots from 3-point shots and 3-pointers attempted per game. But they were dead last in the league at hitting the three at 33%, or a little over 33%. So they shoot like an insane amount of threes, but make the least amount. And like we give up 18 of 38. That's not good in my opinion.
Granted,
but the deep
the point I want to make to that real quick is they have guys playing now that like weren't really playing to contribute to that. Like Kenyon Martin Jr. and Armani Brooks combined to shoot 9 for 12 tonight. They haven't really played for them all year, so that is a point to somebody, which is a fair point.
They did bank 2 threes.
Yeah, bro, that's the spread right there.
Yeah. But so the thing is, though, I mean, even if you factor in the easy schedule and team hitting a lot of teams again, missing players and stuff like that, I still think it's encouraging to have a good defense outside of tonight, because like we've seen stretches against easy teams where the defense is still awful or just our offense is so good and we're still able to win some of those games, or we have to have some huge comeback in the last few minutes to make up for that. So I do think it's a good sign that our defense is like not just seeing the effort, but we're actually seeing like the defensive rating numbers improve. Now they're not improving enough to move us up past any teams, which is indicative on how far behind we were in defensive rating and how bad it was earlier in the season. But yeah, so I still don't think, like you mentioned several times, and I've mentioned this on previous shows, that we played really a dynamic pick and roll player in this stretch, and that's one of the reasons why it makes it our defense so easy. And we didn't really play that tonight, but it worked out for us because our offense was clicking for big stretches of this game.
Yeah. So the next 3 games I think are going to be telling. I think it could be a situation where all 3 teams are trying to win that game. You know, everybody's talking about, oh, those teams might be resting guys the last 3 games of the regular season. I don't think that's going to be the case. Denver's playing for a 3 seed. Utah and Phoenix are in a battle for 1 and 2, which is still a battle right now. So it's a situation where you're probably going to have teams giving it their best shot and teams that we've struggled against. So if this team has really made progress, you'll see it if Phoenix, Utah, and Denver come out trying to legitimately win those games. Mm-hmm. So that's the final litmus test of the season. Can't believe there's only 3 games left.
Speaking of that, Play-by-Play's $10 donation says, we was really only up by 5 at one point in the 4th. At least DJ got some actual minutes. What do y'all think our record will be in the next 3 games? It's so tough not knowing.
1 and 2 or 2 and 1. Like,
if we go 2 and 1, that guy keeps his house.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. I don't know, honestly. That's a tough one, man. Yeah,
like Shane says, if only we won a game or 2 of those 1-point losses we had in consecutive.
Yep. We would be looking at a 5th seed right now. Those games matter at the end of the year. If we don't blow a 20-point lead to the Bulls, Eric, we would be the 5th seed right now. And in position to get the 5th seed because we have the tiebreaker. So, yeah, games like that are frustrating.
I think I have a feeling we'll go 2-1 because um, I think one of the two teams will get us uh, either Wednesday or Thursday, and then we'll beat the other team. But I still think we match up well against Denver, but I have a funny feeling we'll if we get the sixth seed, or even if we have it locked up, knowing that there's going to be a several day break between that game, and there's 2 games between, or 2 days, full days off between Thursday and Sunday's game. I think maybe they'll be worried about rust a little bit, so I think the starters will play even if we have the sixth seed clinched. So yeah, I have a good feeling about that game. So
here's the thing, though: if we clinch the sixth seed by that game, we probably wouldn't want to win that game.
yeah, I just don't think it'll come down to that for 3-4. I mean, if it does, you're probably right.
It's
But then I
such
could
a
also see, like I said, someone on our team going crazy, and
Eric. They tried to avoid OKC to face Utah. The difference between those teams was pretty minuscule, I think. This is LA and Denver without Jamal.
Yeah.
It's such a drastic difference.
but how do you stop it if like Kelvin Blevins goes off for 42 points or something?
Bro, if that happens, then I don't even, dude. If Kelvin Blevins goes off for 12, okay, I'll be shocked. So the dude missed a wide open dunk today. I mean, you got that would be fun. That would be entertaining. Ellaby and Blevins against Bol and
Dude,
I don't know the end of their bench guys, honestly.
the funniest part about that game, weren't we down like 27 or something?
I was at that game. Yeah, we were down like 27. Then we come back and everyone was like, "No, we're
Everyone's
gonna
like,
get
no,
killed by
stop
the Thunder."
scoring.
And I was like,
stop it.
I was like, why do we want to avoid the Thunder? They're
Yeah,
so
I was like,
overrated.
don't bring it
Like
on.
I didn't have much faith in our style of play, but I thought we could beat the Thunder because their style of play, or not their style of play. I'm mixing up so many phrases right now. Holy. OKC was super overrated that year, and everybody wanted to avoid him. And I was just like, they're overrated. And then we come out and beat them in 5.
Yeah, well, I think a little bit of that was we're 0-4 against them in the regular season, so people were scared about that. So yeah, and that team had Jeremy Grant on it, and they didn't trap much. Like that was like an abysmally coached by both sides series, and we got lucky there, I think.
Yeah,
because like if they would have just trapped us with like George and Jeremy Grant a lot more than they did, I think that would have been a completely different series.
Yeah. I don't know. We focused a lot on playoff positioning, but it's still so much is up in the air. It's kind of hard to predict. I would say right now it's likely to be the Clippers. It could be the situation that I teased five days ago or so, where it comes down to we're locked into 6th and we want to lose because we want Denver to win to become the 3 seed. So that's our first round matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they're a game behind the Clippers. The Clippers have to lose another game. I think Denver has a tiebreaker, though, because I think when they were tied, it said Denver was 3rd.
Yeah, I don't recall.
The Clippers? I haven't looked at the Clippers' remaining schedule. They have 4 games left. They have Toronto, Charlotte, Houston, and OKC. So they might not lose another game. All 4 of those games are
crazy things can happen, but yeah, it's going to be pretty tough.
Houston and OKC, the last 2 games of the season. They have to lose to Toronto and Charlotte. They're not going to lose to Houston or OKC.
Mm-hmm.
I don't... OKC is as bad as Houston right now. Like, they are the 2 worst teams in the league right now. OKC has won... Oh my goodness. Out of their last 22 games, OKC has 1 win. They are 1-21 in their last 22 games.
I forgot what the actual stat was, but I think their average margin of victory is the worst of all time for like a 30-game stretch or something like that.
OKC's? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's crazy. They were 19-24. And then they're 21-48 right now. They're just tanking.
Denver was 2-1 against the Clippers this season.
Yeah, I Oh man, now I feel even more confident that it's going to be the Clippers as our first round matchup because I don't see the Clippers losing another game. I think it's more likely they win out than anything right now.
Yeah,
And that sucks because like we either need to pass Dallas or we need Denver to pass the Clippers. One of the two things. And Dallas' schedule is easy. Dallas and the Clippers have such an easy schedule. I feel like there's a decent chance both teams win out. So it could be a situation where Denver and Portland wins out and neither of us pass the team who's ahead of us. So we end up having to face the Clippers. I think it's going to be the Los Angeles Clippers, man. Which, if we won that series, that would be awesome. So that's the upside with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of fans across the NBA will be rooting for us. I feel like a lot of fans don't like the Clippers.
It would be sweet to pull a Golden State Andre Iguodala with Kawhi Leonard. And towards the end of that series, when it becomes apparent we're going to win, like Golden State over the Nuggets, what was that, like 2012-ish, maybe 2013. So during that series, that was Golden State's first series win with Steph Curry and stuff. And apparently, Andre Iguodala decided during that season series that he was going to sign with the Nugget or the Warriors, even though they didn't have cap space to sign him and they had to work out a sign and trade and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so they a lot of his teammates accused him of quitting on them in the middle of the series and stuff, which is funny. But like that would be great. Convince Kawhi as we're beating him and kicking him out to join us for next year and work out a sign and trade there.
Yep. If Memphis beats Dallas, do we get 5th seed if we win out? Yes. Chiefin, yes. What were you going to say?
Yeah, because we'd be tied then, right?
Yeah. So we have to gain a game on the Mavericks. Okay? So if they lose one and we win out, we get it. We have to get one more win than them over the rest of the season.
Did I hear that Doncic didn't get suspended?
Somebody said that in chat, which I don't know how he doesn't get suspended for that.
Yeah, that's BS.
That is equal to throwing a punch. Yeah. That's basically what, dude, just...
That
it was so blatant.
Game, so, yeah.
It was
and
funny
because... I'm not just saying that because like tonight there was 2 flagrant fouls. The first one on CJ shouldn't have been the one where CJ got 2 free throws and we got the ball. I didn't think that was a flagrant. And then the Nurt clothesline I thought was a flagrant, and they called it exactly opposite after reviewing them. But like that was definitely a flagrant, and I don't know how he can say he didn't mean to do it, or like that's so stupid.
There's a difference between like a flagrant and a punch. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Nurkic should be suspended of his. He's not throwing a punch or anything. You know what I mean? Like so there's flagrants that you can be ejected off of that you shouldn't necessarily like be suspended for. You know? Like most you genuinely shouldn't be suspended for. But if you like look at a guy, wind up and throw your fist at him, that to me is a punch.
Yeah.
That's a suspension. So, I mean, it was funny because Dallas fans were whining like, the NBA hates Doncic, they ejected him for that. It's just like, what?
He deserved to be ejected.
100%. Deserves to be suspended.
David Yu says it didn't count or flagrant 2s don't count towards the technical thing. But I think, he should be suspended and still facing a suspension next time he gets a technical as well.
Yeah.
I think it should have been both. It's a shame that they still blew out the Cavs last night, even with that, but yeah.
Shout out play-by-play for another... wait, did you read off his $10 dono?
Yes.
Okay. He has a $5 dono now. He says, Clippers scare me, man. Dame gonna go through hell against that defense. He's gonna go through hell if we don't game plan for it properly. If we figure out ways to exploit the trap, we'll have some success. That is like the number one team that you have to beat with ball movement and not just simply running isolation and pick and roll.
and they've pretty much shut us down every time we've done it or not done those things. Like easily. And Dame, what is Dame shooting from three against them? Someone look it up. I think it's like less than 20% this year or something.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. So, what is there anything else you want to talk about, or what were you going to say?
Yeah, I want to mention this Nurk thing real quick. So
yeah, just from the game, I'm curious.
So the Blazers came out of this game with Rocco guarding Olynyk, and Nurk was on Jae'Sean Tate, right? So the what was happened was, of course, Olynyk was usually the screener, at least in the first quarter. And Rocco would get switched then onto like DJ Augustine, and then Dame or CJ or whoever would be switched onto Olynyk, and Nurk would be on the opposite side of the court, guarding Jae'Sean Tate. So what they were doing was either, if it was a quick enough guard, they would try to go past Rocco, and if it was if Olynyk got down in the post or flashed to the middle, they would try to get him the ball. And what Nurk did at least 5 or 6 times was he ran from the opposite side of the court, tapped Dame or CJ, and made them go guard Jae'Sean Tate, and he switched and made them and then took Olynyk so he couldn't get the ball or obvious post position on a smaller guy. And that's little stuff like that. So this is why people will say, look what happens when you have Nurk back. You can't tell me it's not personnel. But this is a player just going above and beyond the scheme to help a defense. So, of course, if you have the best defenders out there and smart defenders like that make plays on their own, of course that makes your defense better. But at the bottom line is we still came into this game plan with a scheme that they could have exploited if Nurk didn't go rogue again and run across the court and make players switch off ball so he can get that. And this is the problem, and why we were talking about defense earlier and not feeling confident about it, is because we had a game plan where we might have gotten torched even worse than we did if it not for Nurk being really smart off ball and knowing that if he ran over there and got and told whoever was guarding Olynyk to run over to the corner instead of him, that they probably would have scored a lot more easier in the first quarter.
Yeah, it's funny because good personnel can run a bad scheme better. And people see that, and they say that you can't have a bad scheme if you have bad personnel. That it's not the scheme, it's the personnel. Because they see a guy like Nurkic going above and beyond to make up for kind of what probably wasn't the best defensive game plan. And that's a positive difference, and they think it's just personnel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wasn't going into this game like looking for defensive schemes because it's just like this is a trash team. Yeah. So like even if we drop all game, we'll probably be fine and won't matter. Like, but that was something I noticed actually. That was a good catch by you to be an active game.
The thing is, like, if Olynyk wasn't in the game, and there were obviously times where he didn't, we actually got kind of lucky. He got 5 fouls in the third quarter, and a couple of those were kind of questionable. So that really helped us not have to worry about this. Because if he wasn't in the game, I see the strategy of switching all picks against that team. They're all kind of similar size, other than DJ Augustine being super small. But they're all guys you could switch off. It's not really going to kill you if you have Dame guarding like KJ Martin or DJ Augustine or whoever, Daniel House. Like you can just switch all those, and it's basically like guarding the same player. But with Olynyk, that's a completely different thing, and that's why I was kind of weird about the game plan being to do that, because we basically let them once again kind of get into their comfort zone and do that. And like I said, if it wasn't for Nurk kind of stepping up, that might have gotten kind of ugly. Even though we scored 50 points, we still gave up 30 something in the first quarter, and yeah, that was with Nurk making some great defensive efforts. So yeah, it's just I just have no confidence that we have the right people in place to game plan, even for a team like this. And I saw one of the first donos from Near Zero 12 earlier talking about how do you game plan for like Kenyon Martin Jr. and stuff like that. Well, it's like, I mean, these NBA teams have scouts that are supposed to scout every team, and you're supposed to get game plans, and you're supposed to know these kind of guys. Now, like, obviously Houston's playing with a lot of guys that a lot of these players don't know, but like, I mean, DJ Augustine's been in the league a long time. Daniel House has plenty of footage on him. Kenyon Martin Jr., if you just look at the game plan from the last few games, he's been killing it lately.
He's played 41 games, playing 22 minutes a game, so it's not like he just started playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that's their job to come up with game plans, just to do those and specific things. And that's something that Norm was frustrated with when he came over here, is how they don't really have good locked-in plans for what they're supposed to do in those situations when they get switched off and the wrong guy's guarding Kelly Olynyk. And luckily we have the game changer in Nurk to kind of compensate for that lack of preparation in those situations. But against a better team, I'm really scared at what would happen in those situations.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not buying a ton of stock in that 8-game stretch.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be like negative or anything, but like
it's trying to be realistic. We have called things very accurately, consistently over the past couple years, as accurate as I think anybody who covers the team. And it's like the situation where we won 6 games in a row earlier this year, and we're talking about who are we playing? What happens when we play a good team? If we don't play a better style of play than we've shown, even though we've won 6 games in a row, we're going to struggle against good teams and lose. And then we play good teams and get blown out and lose 4 in a row. You know what I mean? We have been consistent. Like, we've been right a lot on this team over the past couple of years. So I don't see how anybody can take our analysis to be, oh, you guys are just haters and super negative. Like, we've pretty much called it as it is, I think. We've pretty much called it as it is, and things have played out kind of how we've expected, you know. This team's playing a good stretch right now defensively with better effort, but it's not like they've played anybody legitimate. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't think anybody can logically blame us for not buying a ton of stock and us doing things against mediocre teams, which we never said that we couldn't beat.
The frustrating part for me is, like, I feel like we have the personnel to be a good defensive team, and we talked about it heading into the season that, you know, top 10 was probably realistic, and, you know, 10 to 15 range should be the worst case scenario, is that middle of the pack 15 to 18 maybe at the worst, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, we had some injuries and stuff like that, but overall, I feel like our scheme has never really matched our personnel, and we thought it was going to be different this year, and they talked about it being different and having to be different, and then they just kind of abandoned that within a few games of the season. And that was the frustrating part to me, was that like someone, I forgot who it was, it might have been Isaac, asked me how I think the Bucks will do in the postseason. And I mean, I know they got blown out tonight, but to me, I haven't like watched a ton of Bucks games, but the ones I have watched, probably like 8 to 10. It seems to me like they were making a concerted effort all season to play a certain way that was different from what's gotten them into trouble last year. And that was what you were begging for, Tori, mm-hmm. To like maybe even sacrifice some games earlier in the season so that by this time we were playing in a style that was better suited for our personnel, and not just abandoning that right away. And that's the frustrating part for me, is that like this team, like people were like, oh yeah, see guys, they can play good defense. Stotts can be a good coach. What's like, well, where was that coaching all season up until these last 9 games?
Yep.
Like that's my frustrating part is because like there's no way you can tell me that this personnel on defense is worse than the Minnesota Timberwolves, and like by a lot. And it's just not only them. I can name several other teams that should not have a better defensive rating than us. And I feel like we just didn't do anything to fix it other than, well, it needs to be better. We need to have more effort and stuff like that. And so, yeah, you can get by with effort, and that does change it a little bit. Obviously, the more effort and the more guys fly around and the more energy and there hasn't been a lot of loose balls and stuff, but the more hustle plays you have, the more rebounds you get versus giving up offensive rebounds and stuff like that, the more you can help your defense, and it certainly will look better. But in the playoffs, you have to have a better game plan, and it has to be locked in, and you have to be ready to change it at a moment's notice once the other team starts figuring it out. And I just don't see that with this team. But a team like the Bucks, I feel like, have been doing stuff all season to where I have a little bit of hope if I'm a fan of their team that this year might be a little different for them in the playoffs because they're going to do some things other than their basic stuff that they try to run every playoffs and it doesn't end up working. So I don't know if it will work for the Bucks. I don't know if doing the same approach will work for us or if we'll actually see some coaching happen. But like, I just like that they're trying new things, and I don't feel like we're doing much other than it needs to be better. Yeah, well, no crap.
Yeah. Yep. Let's thank the last two donos. RIP Blazers. $2 donut says, Olshey gave Stotts a farewell trophy on Insta. 400th win as a Blazer for Stotts. Don't they also celebrate his 400th career win, too?
Yeah, it was just...
Like, they celebrate both. Yeah, so...
this was also his 1,000th game as a head coach.
1,000th game, okay. So he... Okay, 400th is a Blazer. I was about to say he's 400 and 600. No, 400th is a Blazer. Okay. Yeah, so I didn't see the Insta post. I'll look at it though after the stream. Shout Mills Woj $5 donut says, Eric, could you get a sense of chemistry with Norm and a feel on if he liked it from in game and on the bench because we need him to stay?
I felt like Norm was really into the game. I felt like he I really see it with Nurk, especially in the the first quarter when the ball was moving around. You could just tell those guys were like feeding off each other energy wise, and it was no coincidence. I don't think that Powell has one of his better quarters of the season. While getting great passing from Nurk on a lot of those. And then, he starts taking to the ball the rim with authority after he hits a couple threes. So I really like the little on-court chemistry between those two right now. And I feel like he's the kind of guy who will start cutting if he realizes that Nurk can pass him the ball. And that could open up a big dynamic. He had that sweet dunk tonight.
Yeah,
I think that was more impressive than
behind his head.
I think that was more impressive than either the Derek Jones Jr. ones. But it's I feel like him, and I think him and Dame respect each other a lot. I'm not quite sure. I'm a little nervous about him and CJ. Not because I think like they don't like each other or anything, but like I feel like at times. They kind of compete for shots or, roll, and it's kind of hard to know what to do when they're both kind of on fire and stuff like that. But overall, I'm more encouraged lately than I was initially the first couple weeks with Norm.
Yeah,
and I really want them to keep him. I think that would be huge for this franchise if we were able to do so. But yeah. I I don't know. I can't really say for sure 100% because obviously it's just me watching from the stands, but he seems to be fitting in a lot more than he was.
Yep. It seems like it's improving, and I think Nurkic is a big reason for that. Powell plays well off Nurk, I think.
And I'm sorry, I don't know who said this in chat, but someone mentioned that Nurk's passing is one of the reasons why the energy is so good, in my opinion. And I completely agree with that. Um, he just makes the offense so much easier at the beginning of games, and then you get into a flow and you have those possessions, like I said, where all five people touch the ball and make a nice pass, and it results in an open three, and then you go down on defense and everyone's excited because you like had a great offensive possession and everyone felt like they were a part of it, and that makes you step up so much more, and then the energy is there, and then like I said, you get like a rebound or a loose ball or something, and then you go down and score on a fast break bucket, which we I forgot what we finished with, but at one point we had like 20 fast break points, which was a lot for us. So like it felt like we had a lot of energy, like moving the ball up the court too, like getting it up the court quickly tonight. And yeah, I think that absolutely has a lot to do with Nurk being such a willing passer. We heard him comment shortly after he came back about how selfish he felt like the team was playing. And I feel like as the selfishness has gone down, the energy and the effort level has gone up, and I think that's one of the key reasons for that.
Yep. Nurkic is the heart and soul of this team.
Yeah.
And he's the X factor with his play on the court outside of that too. Like, he is extremely underrated by most people that don't watch the Blazers. If we're gonna make a playoff run, he has to be playing at an all-star caliber level, which I think he's capable of. But like, I don't know. I'm just curious if we come out with the right game plans and are coached well in the playoff series and Nurkic is playing at his peak, what is our ceiling? Because we haven't seen that. So I'm hopeful that we're able to see that this year, because I think we could be competitive against anybody if that's the case.
Yep.
So,
and I felt like, especially when Olynyk got in foul trouble, and he wasn't really guarding Nurk in a lot of possessions early on for some reason either. But even if he was, there are times, especially in this game tonight, where I was just like, why are we not just giving it to Nurk in the post every single time? And what did he shoot tonight? Do you know?
Nurkic, 10 for 14.
Yeah. So I think one of those misses, he missed it and tipped it back in. But like, he was unstoppable with the spin move. Yeah, I wish sometimes we just let him go to work, because unlike a lot of other players, we try to isolate in those situations. Like, he's going to pass if he doesn't have a shot. So, yeah, I would just keep going to that. And especially in a playoff series, if we're playing the Clippers and we are struggling to get good shots up with our guards, I want guys like Norm taking the ball to the basket, getting the free throw line like he did in an earlier game against the Clippers, and I want us to just play through Nurk inside and let him. I mean, if he gets hot and starts scoring on the post and getting their bigs in foul trouble and stuff like that, that can absolutely change that series.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So, anything else you want to talk on from the game itself?
Isaac had asked me how the process was. Parking the garage was like completely empty. It did cost $25.
Did they just let you park?
But
they charged you $25. I mean, they got to make up their money somehow. But why would anybody? Wait, and you actually paid it?
Yeah, my mom wanted to park at the stadium, so she didn't have to walk very far. But because
I'm just parking on the block that's like 2 blocks away and park for free.
With this whole Portland downtown scene right now, she didn't feel comfortable not parking in the garage. So that was the only reason why we were willing to pay that. But yeah, normally we'd probably just find a place down there to park. But we got right in our car, got right out of the parking garage, didn't have to wait like an hour to have someone let you out and then sit in that long line.
All
So
that traffic.
got home pretty quick, all things considered.
Yeah, I was surprised how quick it was.
As far as getting into the game, it was pretty normal, except it was just like a crapload less people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything was like just. It was kind of eerie walking around. It was like you got into some special event that, well, I mean, it kind of was a special event, but like it was like you weren't supposed to be there yet or something, and they let you in early, and you're just walking around and you're hardly seeing anyone in the, like the out of the arena areas and stuff like that. Not many of the food things were open or anything like that, but yeah, still plenty of alcohol there.
When is somebody taking me to the game? Chat? Help?
Well, there's only one more game left.
Exactly. Help. Well, playoffs too. I wonder if it's going to be expanded for playoffs.
Kyle Wilson. So I always park at Sunset Transit. I always take Max to the game, but yeah, right now, both due to the pandemic and, like I said, the situation downtown, taking Max right now through the area and to the game is probably not the best idea. So, yeah, we avoided Max tonight, but usually that's what we do. We park over by the hospital and just take Max downtown. But yeah.
Yep. Alrighty, so been an hour and a half. I got all my basketball talk out of the way so fast. Like, I don't have anything else.
I was listening. You're doing good.
Appreciate it.
Except for trading me for a bag of chips, man. Whatever.
Hey, man. They were pretty good chips, though. Not gonna lie. Don't feel too bad.
At least they were tasty. Yeah.
It was more. Lakers fans need somebody to educate them. So I was, trying to do something for the greater good of everyone. But obviously, it wasn't effective, as you could tell by chat.
Trevin, did you come up with that?
What?
He said he accidentally turned on airplane mode.
So clever. Oh my goodness.
That's a dad joke.
Shout out Isaac for not trolling and saying, "Love the stream tonight. Had great vibes coming from y'all." Actually, is he? Do you think he's trolling? He might be trolling. But if it's true, I believe
I don't think he's trolling. But then, like, normally we don't have good vibes. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah, man. What the heck, man? Lays.
He tried to compliment us, but he.
It's a backhanded compliment. Wow, your guys' vibes are actually really good tonight. At least for the first 45 minutes.
You guys aren't killing my mood tonight for once.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today. I had a long day. Drove back from Tacoma today. Enjoyed that. Enjoyed getting out of town for a night. Yeah, so I'm ready for the stretch run of the season. It's almost over. I need to go eat food. So if you have anything else left to say about the game, Eric, now's the time.
Trevin's saying he really did push airplane mode on his computer and couldn't connect or something. That's funny.
Oh, it wasn't a joke? I didn't even... Wait. Your computer has an airplane mode?
Yeah, mine does.
Like your desktop?
My laptop, my newer one doesn't, but my older one had one that was just like a normal button next to my volume. So it happened all the time, and it was so annoying. Like, someone would accidentally hit it or something, and then it would connect to the internet, and it's like, no.
I get it for laptops. I didn't realize Trevor was on a laptop. I thought he was on a desktop. But Reese asked, what were the pecs against the spread records? I don't want to talk about it. I don't.
Why?
Don't even... Because, dude, they...
What?
You know why. You don't even... You don't even gotta ask why.
Pelicans covered, right? Wizards covered. Spurs won. Rockets won.
Golden State won.
Warriors won. I was 2-5.
I was 3-4.
And I only won the last two. I was 0-5.
Should have been 1-6. I should have been 4-3.
I think chat gained a game on me tonight. again.
Today sucked for picks against the spread, and it's literally only because of the Blazers game.
Yeah, chat was 3-4, so they gained 1 game on me for the second straight.
Did Reese and Zach were tied?
Hold on, 1, 2, 2. You were 3-4, Tori. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You gained a gain on me.
I should have gained 3. Bro, 1 game is not enough. There's 2 days left. Okay, so all the games on Sunday are 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Yeah, something
Our
like
time?
that.
Yeah, our time. What about a Saturday night picks against the spread?
Yeah,
Blazers
Saturday.
Saturday night. But since it's all in the morning, it should be like pretty solid.
The only problem is, well, hopefully all the spreads are out Saturday night, but not knowing some of the injuries or rest situations might be.
Well, that's
really
part of the skill.
difficult.
Final day of the season. It's like, okay, this team isn't playing for anything, so they might rest guys. You got to factor that in. So,
I think so. Zach was 3-4 too, despite winning his Spurs double down.
he was only 3-4, and he won the Spurs double down. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
because he had the Pelicans right, but then lost every other game other than that.
Oh, man. I started off well. I got my Washington game right. That was a split vote. I was on an island with Cleveland, and I got that by half a point. And then it was downhill. I got Golden
Reese
State.
got his double down with the Wizards. That was huge for him.
Yeah, I should have doubled down on the Wizards. Yeah, rough, man. Rough day of picks against the spread.
Reese was 4-3.
So
That
Reese
might be
passed
the best
Zach.
record today.
Yeah, Reese passed Zach. Reese is in 4th now. Congrats to Reese. He is top mod. Yeah. I won it last year, didn't I? Didn't I pull away late last
I think
year?
you did at the end.
It was
yeah.
like tied. Me, you, and chat were tied with like 2 weeks left or something like that.
1-6 for Trevin. Yeah.
The struggle continues. And I think, I don't know. Trevin might not be participating next year, so this might be his like mark. Because Trevin gonna be busy next year. Yeah, 1 and done last place.
Reese was the only one above 500 today, though.
Dude,
That's
everybody's been struggling because nobody was above 500 last time. So it's almost like somebody just needs to go against their inner intuition. Eric,
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Well, if I would have picked opposite of chat tonight, I would have ended up being better than all of you. So.
I should have just picked opposite of you. But I don't want to do that. But also it's strats. Like,
Yeah.
but like it's.
I'm not going to struggle for. I got my 2 bad days out of the way. I lost a couple games, but.
How many games we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do have 24 games left. So I'd have to go to tie you. I'd have to go 16-8, and you'd have to go 8-16. What would the tiebreaker be? What should the tiebreaker be? Because I've thought like best double down record, but then also I've thought like worst double down record because if you take the double downs out, then it's like just based on games picked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What should the tiebreaker be?
Or maybe we can just both be victorious.
Don't like it.
You don't like it.
Don't like it.
We could do some sort of
We could do
playoff tiebreaker.
We could do the playing games.
Oh yeah, the playing games, that'd be good. For a tiebreaker.
Shoot, we should have just done the playing games regardless. But yeah, for a tiebreaker, yeah.
Yep.
Shout out BR Swerve $10 dono says I tweeted guess how many points Damian Lillard scores tonight. I cash app you $10 out of 140 replies, no one besides myself said 34, so I guess you can have the 10. Something I thought was funny. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So
good guess with the 34.
What would you have done if it was like 32 and like 5 people guessed 32? You cash apping everybody $2?
I think he said like he'll just pick one of the people who guessed right. Yeah.
Gotcha. I don't know why. Like, there's strategy to that. Like, if you see a bunch of people guessing 32 and it's only going to be one of them, why would you guess 32 instead of like 34? That's kind of funny.
Dame only had what, 6 at halftime? I think he hit those 2 insane threes, and
he had more than that. I thought
maybe that was just the first quarter. He had 6. No, I'm pretty sure because the first quarter. He had like 5 assists, but he didn't really shoot much at all.
I can go to his shot chart actually, because I'm curious.
Trevin says just 6.
Really?
Yeah, he had a quiet 28 in the second half, I think.
Huh. Yeah.
They scored 50 with him scoring 6. As CJ has 21 in the first and ends with like 28, I think.
Norman started off with like 13 in like 5 minutes. I wanted us to get him a 50-point game.
That would have been cool.
Bro, Cam Oliver should have been in the NBA before this. Let me just say that right now. I've always been like, bro, Cam Oliver deserves a chance in the league. And 90% of people don't know who that is. Even in training camp when we had him, I'm like, this dude could be an NBA player. And then he comes out, signs today, first NBA game, and he has 13 points in 19 minutes. Like, I don't know. I've always liked Cam Oliver.
He hit a 3, too.
Yeah, he can shoot. He's 6'8". Like, he's undersized center, but, like, maybe he could play the 4 if he could shoot. But he's, like, athletic. Like, he plays bigger than his height.
He looked a little bigger than I remember him when he was in training camp with us, like a little slower and chunkier a little bit, but
he's still like athletic though. He finishes strong. That's what I always liked about him. He finishes strong. Yeah. So cool to see him in the league finally. I tweeted out Cameron Oliver's finally in the league because I didn't know they signed him, and then all of a sudden like Jordan Kent is saying Cam Oliver. But I tweeted it out and I had somebody go, who? Like, come on, guys, get your knowledge up. Cam Oliver. I think he played at Nevada? Let me check. Yeah, Nevada. Okay. Cool. University of Nevada. Just like former Blazer legend Luke Babbitt. If anybody says who in chat to Luke Babbitt, I'll be disappointed. Anyway, now I'm thinking about chalupas, Eric, because I'm thinking about Luke Babbitt. And now I'm hungrier. So, anything left that you wanna get off your chest?
I'm in my fantasy league championship.
For basketball? I didn't even know you were in a fantasy league. God, now you're thinking about something else that always screws me over other than picks against the spread, and that's fantasy football. Oh, man.
Unfortunately, I'm playing against Clarkson, CJ, Giannis, Utah's Bogdanovich. Chris Middleton had a big game tonight. So I'm just looking at this stuff real quick.
Jackson says Tori doesn't like fantasy. Yeah, and I don't like losing.
I have like the weirdest championship roster ever because I had like Zion, Christian Wood, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Porter, several other guys that got hurt. Jeremy Grant, I couldn't play any of them because I was talking with Reese and Zach earlier, like, do I play like a much worse player but that's guaranteed to play, or do I play like risk one of those guys like having actually playing and not sitting out the rest of the season? But yeah, it's gonna be tough to win with my lineup.
Yeah, fantasy basketball just doesn't work as nicely as fantasy football, so I've never been too into it.
I'm in a league where so the lineup's set at the beginning of the week, and it doesn't matter how many games you play because it takes the average points scored in those. Like if they play 3 games, you would just take the average in those 3 games and get the one score for the week, like a fantasy football player would.
That's actually
So
smart.
I kind of like that because then it's not dependent on like, oh crap, I have Dame, but he only plays 2 games, but I have like DJ Augustine who plays 6 games. So should I play him instead of Dame? Like, it's like, kind of dumb that way, but yeah, so it's really simple and I like the format. Otherwise, I agree with you. I hate like the rotisserie or the um like the league that Reese and Connor and Zach are all in.
Hmm.
I hate those kind of leagues where it just matters how many games your guys play, basically.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I've wanted to find a way to work around that. That's probably the best idea I've heard of, the way
Mm.
your league does it. But fantasy football, still love fantasy
Oh
football.
yeah, for sure.
And now we have an extra week this year, so an extra week until I suffer misery in the playoffs, Eric.
Hmm.
Basically, me and Eric have been in the same league for like 5 years now. I think you've been at 4 out of 5 years. And basically, every year, I make the playoffs, and then I just absolute dud in the playoffs against a team that has like a much worse record than me. That's how it goes for me. Yeah. So anyway, maybe this year's the year. I'm gonna draft Trey Lance. He's gonna carry me. But yeah. So anyway, we're gonna wrap up this stream. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. We will be live again on Wednesday. I will be live again tomorrow night with Valley Podcast. That is the plan right now. And then we will be live again on Wednesday. I'll tweet out that Valley Podcast link. And then live again Wednesday with the Jazz postgame show. And then Thursday, we have Blazers Uprise live. So second to last day of picks against the spread. And then we have the Phoenix Suns game and that postgame show. And then 2 days off. We'll do a Saturday night, as long as like spreads are out, we'll do a Saturday night Blazers Uprise Live, like a special edition Blazers Uprise Live, because on Sunday there's 15 morning games starting between 9 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. One of those is going to be the Blazers game. Hopefully they're not tipping off at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because
Well,
if we're locked in, I might not even watch that game.
It's a home game because, yeah.
They shouldn't be tipping off at 9 a.m.
Yeah, that should be noon.
Yeah.
I really hope that's noon.
Yeah, so do I. Trust me. So, yeah, Saturday night we will have a special edition of Blazers Uprise Live. Normally we do Mondays, Thursdays. We'll do a Blazers Uprise Live on Saturday for the 15 games for picks against the spread that are taking place Sunday morning. So that should be fun. That's the perfect way to just wrap it up with a bang. So if you want to watch Blazers Uprise Live, link is in the top of the description below, so you don't miss that. Make sure you go subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like on this video, on the stream. It does help us out. We're at 81. It'd be cool to hit 100. That's usually the goal. I'm going to start asking for likes more, because I have I have a lot of cool, supportive people come in chat and say leave a like, so I might as well beg for the likes, Please leave a like. Anyway, that's the most begging you'll get at me. The Blazers win tonight 140-129 over the Houston Rockets. They did not cover, so that's the one disappointing thing tonight. The other disappointing thing, defensive effort wasn't really there. Giving up 129 points to this Rockets team is not necessarily encouraging, but it could just be a little bit of an outlier. We'll see. The Blazers will have a true final litmus test coming up in the next 3 games, going up against the Suns, the Jazz, and the Nuggets. So we'll see what they look like against those teams. We'll see if they have actually improved. We will have you covered with streams for those games as always. So just stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter at TorJonesYT. Eric is at HoopShock. The channel is at Blazers Uprise YT. Check out my pinned post to follow my mods on Twitter as well. Reese, Trevin, and Zach. I appreciate the work that they do. Thank you to everybody who donated tonight. It means a lot. Thank you for your support, and thank you to everybody who tuned in and spent time with us tonight. It was fun to do a solo stream, but it's definitely easier with Eric here, especially after a game like this. So,
well, thanks for having me on after I got back.
Yeah, of course. We've gotten a lot smoother at kind of the transition of getting you on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had to put Isaac in timeout he said the magic words.
What?
Or there's two sets of magic words.
There's a magic number and a magic word.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on the magic word. Especially with the word that came before that magic word.
He was being so nice to us too.
Oh man. Oh. Like if you guys want to know, I can't say, like, I literally cannot say it.
No.
So
you're automatically, if either of us said it, we're banned from our own show.
We're making it sound a lot worse than it was.
I know.
Just think of the word Blazers and then a way people like to abbreviate it that makes no sense. All right, that is the word. We made it sound a lot worse than it was.
And then put something Duck fans or Minnesota Viking fans would say in front of it.
Yes. So anyway, Isaac was on a good run though. I applaud the effort tonight, Isaac. You almost made it through, man. For the rest,
I think he wanted a ban.
Probably. Wouldn't feel right without an Isaac ban. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Anything you have left to say, Eric?
No. Why was Zach asking what he said when he could easily just scroll up and look?
I don't know, dude. These mods, man. And then he gets himself banned as a mod. Just crazy. So, anyway, we will catch you all later. I hope you have a good rest of your night and a good Tuesday. We will see you again on Wednesday, unless you tune in for the Valley Podcast tomorrow night. I will see you then if you do. Anyway, have a good one. We'll see you later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.